just 'cause I know it. This is our time, this is our day. Victory.
Hey folks, Captain Flying Toaster here. I am at Oakland Nature Preserve again today. I'm about 45 minutes into a 2-hour ruck, but I decided to stop here at the sandhill biome. This is part of the restoration they're doing here at Oakland Nature Preserve. They cleared out all the invasive species on this sandhill. They planted some longleaf pines, which are native to the area, and that's all that's going to live here is some tall grasses and some longleaf pines, and of course the critters that find that sort of environment home. I promised you last time we'd do a little bit of talking about gear, and what I'm actually going to talk to you today in specific is my emergency kit. I grew up as a scout, so the whole be prepared ethos is well drilled into me. I've also served as a safety officer at work and in the Civil Air Patrol, so I have a long history of being the guy that thinks about what can go wrong and how we can be ready for it. So when I'm rucking, there are 3 major catastrophes that can befall me. I can get sick, I can get hurt, or I can get lost. And I have some basic supplies to kind of insulate myself from those 3 happenings. Of course, not all accidents and emergencies can be prevented, but with little preparedness you can make the difference. I'm not necessarily talking life or death. It is rare that what is in your purse or your emergency kit is going to be the difference between life or death, but there is a big difference between getting home on time for dinner and being 3 hours late and making your family worry. So a little bit about my emergency kit. I do keep that in a separate pouch from my main pack. I don't want to have to dig around for these things, and it can be hard to see inside. You know, I do have a sizable pack that I carry around with me. It's dark in there, and honestly I bought it secondhand, so it doesn't exactly smell great. I pretty much go into the main pack to remove or add weight plates, and that's it. But in a separate pouch on the hip belt, I have my emergency kit. And most of that is in a little Ziploc baggie. The nice thing about these zip top bags is they have 1,001 uses. Sucking chest wound, if you do want to go the life or death route, you can use that to make a 3-way valve. You can also use them to waterproof your electronics if they are not inherently waterproof and you get caught out in a storm. So plastic baggie is great for holding all this stuff, and it has a million uses on its own. As far as getting sick, there's not a lot that can be done to prevent that. We can do some stuff to protect ourselves from heat-related illness and keep our fluids and electrolytes in whack, and we'll do a whole another episode about that. But if you're going to end up feeling crummy, there's not a lot that can be done to prevent that. I do worry about getting injured. Florida is very flat country. I'm not so much worried about falling down an embankment and breaking my arm. If that were my concern, I would pack differently, but that's just stuff I don't need. But if I were in hillier country, I would think about packing some supplies to make a sling or some splinting material or something like that. Not really concerned here. My big injury concern here is orthopedic injuries, specifically sprained knees, sprained ankles, because those are going to affect my ability to get myself out. Most places that I go rucking, I do have a cell phone signal. I'm, maybe 15-20 minutes away from the nearest rescue squad, and they can bail me out if worst comes to absolute worst. But we don't want it to come to that, So to manage those orthopedic injuries, I have 2 supplies. I have a elastic wrap, commonly known by the brand name of Ace Bandage. This is the kind with Velcro instead of the little dog bone clips. I just prefer those, and I bought some in bulk on Amazon. It was like $10 for a big box of them. Also, down in the bottom there are 4 prescription strength, over-the-counter strength ibuprofen tablets, 200 milligrams, also known by the brand name of Motrin. Typically, I believe the bottle instructions are take up to 2 tablets as needed for pain. Talk to your doctor. It may be okay for you to take up to 4, and that can really help with the pain and inflammation that goes along with a sprained knee, sprained ankle. So something to wrap it up with nice and tight, pop a few Motrin, and that should be enough to get you mobile enough to self-rescue. Because you don't want to get carried out if you don't have to. The other very common injury that we have to concern ourselves with are blisters. And once again, blister treatment is its whole other subject, and I'm sure I will find some very graphic way to discuss treatment of blisters, but that is not today. You lucked out. But I do have the materials that I use for treating blisters, some Tegaderm sheets and some colloid dressings. Now, the lost part, when you get lost, you suddenly lose your access to three very important things: food, water, and shelter. As far as food goes, I generally don't pack a snack unless I'm going on a really long ruck, 3 hours or more. But I do have an emergency snack in my emergency kit, just in case I do end up going farther than I expected because I ended up off track. I have one of these. This is a New Millennium energy bar. You can order those off of Amazon. I don't know how to order them directly from the manufacturer, or I would give you that information. These are really nice. They last for 5 years, so they're great for your other emergency supply kits. They actually taste pretty good. If you ever had the pleasure of having an MRE back in the 1980s when they still had the dark brown wrapper, there was an oatmeal cookie bar that was included in some of those MREs, and that tasted a lot like these. So it's kind of like a cross between a cookie and particle board, but you can't be picky at this point. And that's 400 calories. That's enough for me to hike, another 10-15 miles to get myself out if that's what it takes. Also, if I am irretrievably lost and have to dig in and stay in one place, there are a lot of really sucky feelings that go along with being lost. You feel anxious, you feel worried, you're probably physically uncomfortable, you're embarrassed, and why add being hungry on top of all that other negativity? So bring yourself a snack. Oh, also those New Millennium bars don't melt, which is a big concern here in Florida. As far as access to water, that is a second use for those, and I actually do have some additional plastic bags in my big plastic bag. I can scoop up water from a local pond, and I do have a small portable water filter in my backpack. That's not in the emergency kit because, once again, if I'm busting that out, I have committed to staying in one place until I get rescued. Shelter, I do have an extra large poncho, once again, in the main part of the pack. It's bright yellow to make being found easier, because once again, it's not a life or death thing in this climate, but lost and scared and lonely and soggy, it's just a really, really crappy combination. So let's take some of the crappiness out of that combination. The one other first aid thing I do carry, and this may lean toward over-preparedness, is I do carry a combat application tourniquet in my emergency kit. Do I think I'm going to get shot by a lost hunter? No. But we do have some large bitey critters here in Florida. We have bears, we have bobcats, we have alligators. On at least 2 separate occasions, I have snuck up on an alligator, and if I couldn't see it and it couldn't see me until I was right on top of it, that interaction could have ended up a lot uglier. And life-threatening bleeding is one of those things that you just can't wait to treat. So I did throw a tourniquet in my emergency kit just in case. Maybe I'm paranoid, but it's only a couple of grams, and I'm trying to carry heavy stuff anyway, so it's really not an extra burden. So that's a little bit about my emergency kit. I'm going to finish out my ruck. I will see you on the trails, and hopefully you will have your own emergency kit so I don't have to lend you a Band-Aid. Bye-bye.